Well, hello, everyone. Hope you're doing well, and welcome to Real Estate with Ryan. I'm Ryan Coleman, as always, on a Saturday here with you on Real Estate with Ryan. So glad you guys tuned in and got a good show for you. Again, my partner in crime, April's not here. Busy. And so we're trying to help you in every way we can and wanted to talk to you and have a good show. If you guys have watched real estate over the last couple of years in the market, the real estate industry has been phenomenal. Whether you're an investor, whether you're buying, selling, the market's been blessed. So we've had an opportunity as if you've invested in real estate and know the advantages of owning, whether it's rental property, maybe you're a builder, maybe it's new construction, the opportunities that are out there right now. So we wanted to talk about to our investors. We always talk about homeowners and buying and selling and a lot of different topics, but there's so many opportunities in the real estate market regarding investing. And so we're going to be talking about rehabbing houses on a budget and a guide. What's the steps you need to do to buy investment properties? Over the last 20 years, we've bought a lot of investment properties, whether it's new constructions, apartment complexes, single families, duplexes. We've kind of bought them all and had an opportunity to go through that process. Never an easy process. You know, we see these shows on HGTV and all these DIY networks where we flip the house and make it look easy. It's not always easy, but it can be fun and it's definitely rewarding. So we'd like to talk about that. And if you guys are ever bought property or thinking about buying investment property, hopefully this show will help you. Kind of give you some personal stories, just some ideas that we've had over the years may help you in your ventures in rehabbing or flipping a property. Maybe you've got that old house that you got inherited. Maybe it's a rental property, been there for years, and now you want to make it your primary residence, or maybe your kids are going down to UT. It is that time of the season now. Kids are going back to school. And so maybe you want to convert that over for them, go into UT and make that an opportunity that was a rental. So we'll talk about that. What's the first steps you need to do in buying investment property or something that you're going to rehab or you currently own? I think the first thing you want to do is set out a budget. Budget's key because obviously once the money's gone, you don't want to get to the end of the project and then come up short. So we get to the end of the project, we run out of money, then all these things come together and it's hard to stay on budget, right? There's so many variable costs, but I'd say budget is the first thing that you definitely want to talk about and an opportunity. Now, in the real estate market now, in the housing market, the investor, those houses that you got to flip or fix up, or even the rental properties for long-term gain are hard to find. You know, everything's going fairly quickly. Buyers feel like they're overpaying. Sellers are getting way above what the market is or their price. We're just looking online a few minutes ago, and some other owners were even selling some properties that are successful. So how do I get in the market, Ryan, that if I'm getting in the residential rental space or a house that I own, I want to renovate it and I want to either make it rental property or maybe sell it, put some renovations into it for a good profit? That's a good question. And I think the first thing you start with is real estate is always location, right? So, you know, we need to know our budget and then we need to know our exit strategy. Two most important factors in when buying real estate is what is it going to cost? How much is it going to cost to fix it up? And if I do sell it, even if you're not planning on selling it, know exactly what it's worth in today's market. Now, 2008, 2012 market, those numbers were a lot different. So markets can change. And that's the biggest thing is how much time will it take to renovate my property or fix and flip this property? We're talking with a gentleman that was referred to a friend, has a little property in Knoxville, and we'll pick on him a little bit. And we had an opportunity to chat with him, and it was a great referral and really appreciated him calling me and taking the time to ask me for my advice and to help him with this project. But the sad thing is when we went to this property, he bought it at the right price. He got a really good deal. Price-wise, bought it right for the area, had an opportunity with the basement, so they're going to finish the basement out and add more square footage. Great deal, beautiful brand new siding on it. But when I walked through the property, the flow, the function of the property really didn't fit. It was that old 1920s to 1940s two-bedroom home. But then they took the basement and tried to convert it. Well, with that opportunity there, they want to maximize their space, and I see what they did. But like any project, not only is it the price that you buy it for, but our budget. So he got out of budget. And so if you've been in real estate or deal with contractors that can always be eventful. And right now I think I've got one wanting a check knocking on my door coming soon. And so that opportunity is there. And it's managing contractors time-wise, pay-wise, and keeping them on schedule. And how do you do all that, especially on a smaller budget? This house was a smaller project. And he said, Ryan, my frustration on this house is that the first guy that I hired didn't do things right, charged me way too much for the money, and I'm over budget. And I said, well, that's challenging. And when we looked at the exit strategy, he said, Ryan, I've got too much into it as a rental. I don't want to make it a rental because I'll have, the cabinets are too nice, the siding. I didn't set it up for an exit strategy of a rental. I wanted to flip it. I wanted to resell it. And the challenge is that the numbers of what makes sense for him on this investment are not there. Now, we can start at any number and put it out there, but the sales around him essentially was going to be about a $15,000 loss. That's kind of hard to swallow that on your investment that you essentially live 3 or 4 hours away, you're $15,000 down. So that's another part that we'll talk on the second segment, how to manage contractors, how to keep them on track. But keep in mind of that budget, one of the things I think is probably most important when you go through that budget, make sure you allow a 10%, maybe a 15% allocation of overages, because it's going to happen. And if it does, then you're better to that opportunity. Why would you think that the budget could go over? And a lot of people say, well, if we got all of our expenses, and the biggest challenge is with our subs. So when we go with an opportunity in our subs, this sub may give you exact pricing, but then all of a sudden in the project where we're involved into it, guess what? Those subs don't get to the job in time enough. And now the budget that you allocated, maybe it was, let's say a heating and air guy was $3,500 to $4,000. But now we're in the middle of the summer seasons and the opportunity that they're at the peak of their business. He can't get to us in time. All our other subs are lined up for that project. And guess what? If one sub, like a domino effect, doesn't go in, then the next one doesn't work. And before you know it, the whole project is behind 2 or 3 months. So you have to replace that heating and air guy. And now that quote is $5,000. Well, if you do that a couple times on several different contractors on a project that's smaller, it doesn't take much to be $15,000 out of whack. So not only are you missing the summer timing, but also on your subs that you're past on that time frame. And then you're back to square one, where you've got more money into it, and it doesn't make sense to make it a rental. So those are things to keep in mind with your budget. I want to say that I think if you're looking for an investment property, if you don't have one now, the first thing is know your local market regarding that. We talk about budget. We talk about the pricing. How are we going to find one? I think the next strategy is finding one and financing it. So finding one in today's market is a little bit more difficult, but some of the tips that I would give you to find one is obviously good agents in your marketplace. If you have good agents that do a lot of business, whether it's buyers and sellers, they're not all online. They're not on the auction sites. A lot of your best deals that we've bought, I've either bought them from customers, off-market deals, or we know somebody in the industry that had an opportunity that knew somebody, and we had an opportunity to buy it before it ever hit the market. So a lot of your great investment deals will never hit the market, and so it's important that you get your contacts out. So if you're a skilled investor or you're brand new, reach out to some of the top agents in the area. Give them your email. Give them your information and say, hey, I want to start investing. I'm set up. This is what I'm looking for. See if they have an updated list. Sometimes we put our clients on an updated list, any in-house deals or things that are coming on the market in MLS that are going to hit quickly, then we're going to keep you up to date. So get with a great agent is number one. Financing. Keep in mind that a lot of these investment properties will require you to close quickly, maybe require you to do cash closings, or they're like the one that the gentleman bought that we were talking about, needed a whole lot of rehab. So with a lot of rehab, a lot of the traditional financings are not there. So keep in mind how you're going to finance the deal. When we go to these auctions, when we go to the opportunity of the foreclosures and everything like that, I guess we're getting time. We're down here in the back. But we go to the opportunity in the market where your foreclosures, some of those are cash sales. And with those cash sales come in, the opportunity to go there is no financing. Some of them we have to buy them at the courthouse steps. Some have an opportunity that gives you 30 days to close. So with that 30 days to close, as we're coming here on break, all that possibility means you got to have your money right. You got to have everything ready, because if you don't, you may lose out on the opportunity. You may lose out on that deal. And then before you know it, you don't have an investment property, and then you start the whole process over. So we're coming up on this break. We're going to talk more about rehabbing this house and talk about how you can find your next investment one and save on a budget. You're listening to Real Estate with Ryan. Please stay tuned.
When it comes to the real estate market, turn to the experts that focus on you. With over 20 years experience, Ryan Coleman with Hometown Realty knows what it takes. It's the right marketing. It's the right exposure. Ryan and April will use their expertise each step as they guide you through the home buying and selling process. Ultimately, it's about results.
You need someone you can trust that is committed to you.
You have a lot of choices, but the choice is simple. It's Hometown Realty.
Your friend promised we wouldn't be homeless.
He promised. He's doing everything to fix it.
You need to call and have him fix it now.
Hey, man.
You found us a house yet?
No, not yet. Let me call you back. We're working on it.
Ryan Coleman with Hometown
He says he's doing the best he can do, honey.
Well, he's taken too long. I knew we should have gone with Ryan Coleman.
Choosing the right agent is never easy.
Call your hometown experts. We'll take care of all the details and make sure you don't get stuck in a motel. Well, thank you for coming back to Real Estate with Ryan. We were talking about rehabbing that property, that investment property that you have. Maybe you want to fix or flip in the market. Maybe you got inherited a property. You're going to keep it long term. How can you do it on a budget? What's the process? Where do you start? So if you don't own a lot of rental property, or it's your first property, hopefully you got some good tips. I was talking off break and he was like, "You're being vague." I was like, "Ryan, I want to be vague because there's a lot involved in the process. There's a lot of details, but I want to get you an idea of what and where you're going to start and how to handle this whole project." I know a lot of times opportunity in the marketplace, you get into it, real estate can be so overwhelming, and especially something where it needs a lot of work. I wanted to talk more about that financing, and we were chatting about that and opportunities to do that. I think one of the biggest misconceptions that investors want to get into the marketplace, or people that own other property, don't understand the financing restrictions. And so a lot of these properties, although they're really good deals, if the financing doesn't make sense and the lender won't loan on it, you'll go through that whole process just to come down to that the lender will have conditions on the appraisal. And those conditions will actually stop the whole loan. So everything's perfect. And what's challenging on some of these investment properties, some of these foreclosures, there's big escrow, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $20,000. And if you're not able to perform per the contract, they may keep your escrow deposit. So make sure I always say, guys, if you're looking to invest in real estate, if you're thinking about knowing where to start, that's why we do this show every week. We talk about Real Estate with Ryan. We're here every week, every Saturday, just trying to give you information in the marketplace, try to help you make the best decisions. And we're always free to call us at any time. It's an easy number. It's 693-SOLD. You can call me and April, my team, and we'll walk you through the process, guide you through what you need to do. And it doesn't matter if you're buying or selling now. If you have questions, that's what we're here for. We can walk you through any step, and whether we're involved in the process now. So we'd love to help you and be that resource in this marketplace if we can help you in any way possible. I've got an article here that was talking about, when we talked about budget, and then we want to talk about contractors, how that's so important. We talked about in the first segment how one contractor can knock you off the schedule. Just like having one contractor only doing a lot of the task can tie up your timing. In investing, if you're going to do this for a profit and do multiple ones, speed is everything. You're facing the market, kids going back to school. You're facing the spring market. You're facing Christmas, right? If you're thinking about reselling, remember, we talk about the exit strategy. It's not about where you are now in your budget. It's not about, unfortunately, how much you've got into the deal or how much time you have. So many times my customers say, "Well, I'm not in a rush. I've got plenty of time." And I say, "Mr. Seller, there's two people to tango in this dance, and it's what a buyer's willing to pay and a seller. So you're the seller. We've got to think about the buyer, guys. Make sure we think about the buyer and why they're buying, their motivation, and their needs. When we address the buyer's needs, that may help us either speed up our timeline on our renovation, and it may also understand things that we need to do, whether it's pricing or fixing things in a timeline that makes sense so we have the most exposure in marketing and get the most people coming through. Because if you're doing this as an investment, really, it's all about making the most money in the shortest amount of time. If you're doing this for a hobby or a family, then that does not apply. So interview your contractors well. Make sure you get some references. If they've done work for other realtors or friends, make sure you check out their work. That is one of the biggest things that most people do. The challenge is by not doing that, if you just hire somebody on their surface, you may not like the results. The challenge is that loyalty with the contractor and hopefully keeping that reputation. And they build their business just like we do on referral. So you need somebody with good references that's going to help you out when you need to do that. Now, one of the things that I think comes into when you renovate properties, we'll use Knoxville as an example, but this could be in any locality, in the city, in the county. The local ordinances have their own codes. They have their own rules and they have their own regulations. Now, if you talk to somebody on one day, it may be a certain rule, and the next day may be something different. But the hard, fast rule is this. If you're renovating a property that is cosmetic in updating, I mean paint, and I mean carpet, I mean appliances, it's cosmetic. You're not going to need permits. But if you do anything that's going to take the structure, integrity, you're going to change anything electrical, safety. And when you guys are in doubt, call and ask, right? You're going to have to get a permit. Now, that's another thing that you have to come into the timing factor, that if you have to get electrical permits, if you have to get a building permit or a whole renovation permit, let's say the property down in Knoxville, our buddy that called us, he had to get a whole permit to renovate the whole thing. Now, the timing on that is they're going to inspect every phase as it was new construction. And guess what? Because it's a total remodel, they're making him redo everything. So that starts pushing to the budget. But you need to know if you need to have permits, and you need to follow those permits, because if you turn around and sell them without the permits or not done through the proper course, you could have all kinds of issues. Now, the challenge on the pushback on the permit side is, I'll pick on the city of Knoxville for a while. You go to the city of Knoxville and you say, well, hey, I need a permit for anything over $100. Okay. Then I'll push back and say, well, that means essentially if we do anything, let's say we put a hot water tank in, we're going to need a permit. Well, that would be true. Then my argument would be, well, Home Depot puts water heaters in every day for $700. How come everybody's not getting permits? Not really an answer for that. Well, let's say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Code Enforcement, I need to put a roof on. I must have a permit for that. So, get one of these investment properties. I know we've dealt with them before. And so I need a roof. And you double check. You be diligent, right? And guess what? You don't need a roof permit unless you're tearing it off. So see, all these things vary. And it's always best to make sure you call ahead of time, write the person's name down who you spoke to. But if you have a contractor handling all this process, they should be able to walk you through every step of it. It's, each locality is different. And then you have to have a feel that what may be in the city of Knoxville may not be in the county. Or how about we be in the city of, Lenore City, or be in the county? There could be different rules and there's different interpretations. That just comes by experience, but nothing's wrong by making that extra call. They do have it online as well. So I think those tips are helpful regarding that process. Where else would I say on this process, kind of our ventures, and what do I think the biggest challenges are in rehabbing a property? I think the time commitment when we go through and hire the contractors, we find the right property, we get all our numbers right, just the time. From the little things from, making sure the flowers are watered and all the mulch is perfect. And guess what? It's summer and I've got to come back and keep all the watering going. And, how about the AC? And just little things like keeping the temperatures controlled. And how about keeping a house empty, clean? Yeah, we got to make sure that if you're going to show it, and if it doesn't sell on the first day, we got to keep it clean. So there's so much time that is not thought of when you get into an investment property and time that you need from your schedule, especially if you're working another job or have another career, if you have kids. You need to make sure that you're allocating, or you have a partner or a team member that's going to help you with this process. I think another step that most people overlook is, if you're an investor, don't forget this is a business and you got to treat it like any business. Know that there's some tax consequences. Know that you better have your records and information. Some things that have found helpful for us and things that have been done successful for us when we do these projects is, number one, back in the day, we used to use, you'd use multiple cards, right? You'd have a little bit on this card, you have the Home Depot card, and before you know it, you have all these different receipts, which can really be a pain during accounting time. But try to use one credit card, one source, and keep all your accounting to run through. At the end of the day, when the property is sold, or you do your renovations, or you hand it over to your CPA, one card's going to save you a lot of time, effort, and mileage. We registered on places like Home Depot and Lowe's and your vendors. They have systems now that allows you to email you, record all of your information and your purchases. So if you're missing an invoice or something that you didn't have, you could just go right to the system, pull up that invoice, the job is labeled, saves you tremendous amount of time. And I think the last thing that I'll end on these projects, don't forget your insurance. It's a vacant dwelling. A lot of insurances will void you if the house is empty. You need to make sure you have the right coverage. God forbid something happens and you don't have insurance coverage, then you could be out a lot of money. Time always goes quick on the show. I hope you like that, talking about rehabbing, investing properties, just some tips that I like to talk about. If you need more information, you know the best number to call. It's 693-SOLD, 693-7653. Every week you'll see on social media streaming. Make sure you like and subscribe to our page. For more information on this topic, we'll have that on our blog. It's ryancoleman.org. As always, till next weekend, look forward to seeing you here on Real Estate with Ryan. You guys have a wonderful weekend.